Welcome, it's December 14th, 2024, and I'm sitting with Mr. John Jeckovich in Studio 6B. We have about a 30-minute rental, so we'll talk fast. And we're going over his book, Their Mother's Sons. Their Mother's Sons basically takes Mr. Jeckovich from his age 11 to his full-blown retirement age. Mr. Jeckovich has been retired now for almost 45 years, and Mr. Jeckovich is knocking on the door of 100. How you doing today, Mr.
Good. We're doing good.
I see you got a lot of nice new clothes on.
Well, very nice new clothes on.
Brand new sweater.
And I like this sweater, yeah.
Looks very nice on you.
Yeah.
And very chipper you are today. You're in a great mood. So everything's going smooth for this Saturday. Yeah, so what's your dog tag number?
42165.
Okay, that'll open up the laptop so I can start reading your book. Did you have anything to say before I start reading?
Which book you reading?
Reading your book, Their Mother's Sons.
Oh, okay.
We're on chapter 22, and we're on page 677. And during Mr. Jeckovich is a highly decorated World War II veteran, and he was in many battles. He's been shot up, beat up, bombed, stabbed, trench foot, and frostbite. Do you still have your frostbite?
I still got it right here.
Every night it bothers you?
And about it right now.
Wow. It never goes away. Mr. Jeckovich still has shrapnel in his legs from a dirty bomb that blew up over his head, killed many people around him, but life was spared, but he still has the metal fragments. What do they put in a dirty bomb?
What do they put in a dirty bomb?
Yeah.
On artillery?
Yeah, no, when the Nazis blew it up, what kind of things they stick in the bomb?
Oh, they probably put pieces of shrapnel and everything else in there.
Old razor blades.
No, I don't think they put junk in there. No, I think it's all military.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jeckovich is from Company H, the 2nd Battalion, the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. So, oh, by the way, there was approximately 16,400,000 young men and women who participated in World War II. And we have about, of the actual combat veterans left, the ones that were on the front line, we have about less than 6,000 left. And most of them are in the late 90s, early 100s. And then we have about 80,000 left of the rear echelon. What was the rear echelon about?
They supported people on the front lines.
And you were on the front line, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But it's interesting, the rear echelon got the heavy-duty boots, pants, jackets, and they weren't in the snow. But the guys on the front line, what do they have?
Well, that stuff never got up to them because they picked it up before we got there.
I see. So even though they weren't participating in an actual fight, they got the best of the best.
Oh, yeah, they're picking it up, it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still going on today. What type of weapon did you have during World War II?
What?
What type of weapon were you assigned to during World War II?
I had a pistol, a bazooka, and a rifle, flamethrower.
How about an armored heavy-duty machine gun?
I had a 30 caliber heavy-duty machine gun, yeah.
And how many people?
Air-cooled, water-cooled.
Water-cooled. And how many people took to operate that?
That squad. I'm talking about squad that were bringing up ammo all the time. They shoot those rounds up, probably a clip, they probably shoot in 5 minutes. And these guys are running back and forth supplying them.
Did you say one of the guys in your squad was your friend, Donald Lape, and he was shooting off a pistol? Didn't you tell him not to shoot the pistol, it's not effective?
Yeah.
And what did he do? Just stood up and started shooting his pistol? And
He was standing up too.
using a pistol. And how effective is a pistol during the war?
Well, it's good for, 10 feet away, like from here
So
to
it's
you.
not effective at all.
No, it splatters all over.
Okay. And some other random facts that Mr. Jeckovich spoke about over our last year of reading his 900-page book. Japan never technically declared war on China. During the Sino-Japanese War, they might have faced more intervention from other countries. Because of this, for decades, it was referred to an incident rather than a war in Japan. And another interesting fact, in the Treaty of Versailles, American President Woodrow Wilson cautioned that the terms of the treaty would be accepted in humiliation under duress and an intolerable sacrifice, but only as upon quicksand. However, he couldn't have guessed how fast the peace would fall apart. So the Treaty of Versailles didn't last long.
No.
Yeah. Hitler clung to his dream of a professional artist after starting his political career. In 1939, right before the outbreak of war, he allegedly told the British ambassador, "Once the Polish question is settled, I want to end my life as an artist." Hitler was offered the opportunity to go to architectural school instead of art school, since that was clearly what he was most interested in, drawing. However, this would have required him to return to high school, which he did not want to do so he turned down the opportunity. So very few people know Hitler, who ruled these countries and caused the death of millions of people, didn't even have a high school education.
No.
Not even a high school education. Hitler painted a self-portrait when he was 21, but his portrait didn't have a face. Some art critics have taken this as a grim foreshadowing of his lack of interest in human life. So when he painted a portrait of himself, he lacked a face.
Blank.
No face, blank.
Yeah.
And so they basically said that was his life, he had a lack of human interest for life.
Yeah.
In his 4 years in the German army in World War I, Hitler never rose higher than the rank of corporal. So during World War I, when he was fighting, he never made it above corporal.
Yeah.
So they didn't see any great talents in them. King Edward VIII of England abdicated the throne in 1936, marrying a divorcee who also happened to be a Nazi sympathizer. There were even claims at time that she was an agent of Hitler sent to destabilize the British throne. While most Americans sympathized with Britain in World War II, the United States did have a Nazi party called the German-American Bund, or the German-American Federation, made up of German immigrants. Some non-Germans in America were also sympathized with the Nazis for various reasons, ranging from feeling like they were unfairly punished in the treaties of Versailles to agreeing with their policies about the Jews. Another interesting fact Mr. Jeckovich said, Henry Ford, creator and owner of the Ford Motor Company, famously continued to do business with Nazi Germany into World War II. He had sponsored an openly anti-Jewish newspaper and allegedly had a picture of Hitler in his office. I'm surprised Ford survived what he did by being on the Nazi side.
Yeah.
How the company continued. That was very a dramatic slap in the
And he
face.
still ran the business.
They're doing quite well. One of the reasons why Germany was in such a terrible economic state in the 1920s was inflation, meaning that money became less and less valuable. This affected the whole world and was on the main cause of the Great Depression. Did you live in the Great Depression?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, actually, the depression was just like living. We didn't have stuff, we didn't have food, we didn't have stuff that we had before, but we accepted it. We didn't.
You didn't know the difference.
No, we didn't know the difference.
You didn't know the difference.
We just kind of blended. We just kind of blended in.
You just thought life was basically hard. This affected them. Their currency, the mark, dropped in value over just a few years. During World War I, one American dollar was worth 5 marks. By November 23, one American dollar was worth no less than 4 trillion marks.
Oh,
so
boy.
Figure that out. One American dollar during World War I was worth 5 marks. And then as the economy faltered tremendously, in 1923, one American dollar was worth 4 trillion marks. I wonder how you can even trade with those numbers.
Depression, yeah.
Yeah. People who deposed the United States entering World War II were known as isolationists. Okay, that's an interesting fact. People who opposed the United States entering World War II were known as isolationists, since they believed that America should be isolated from European events. Well, I got news for those isolationists. If the United States didn't step in, we'd be speaking German today.
Yeah.
We'd be speaking German today. Canada, one of the biggest British colonies, had objected at the beginning of the First World War that they were forced to go to war as soon as Britain declared it. However, Canada was forced to go to war as soon as Britain declared it. They had declared themselves an independent dominion in the 1860s and thought they should have the right to declare war themselves, and Britain agreed. So when Britain declared war on Germany, September 1st, 1939, Canada waited whole 9 days before declaring war as well. Did you see many Canadian servicemen when you were fighting?
Canadian?
Yeah.
No, they're in a different area.
Like what different area?
Well, I mean, say in Europe, they were spread out all over. Canadian.
But you didn't bump into many Canadian fighters.
No.
You mostly see the fellows from the United States, right?
Yeah.
Nothing else, nobody else?
Well, some French sometimes, yeah, but...
Were French good fighters?
French, yeah, well, if they're fighting for their country, yeah.
Okay. South Africa had a pro-German organization called the WWII, which was implicitly an anti-British and politically opposed South Africa entering the war on the Allied side. However, the government ultimately chose to honor their pact with Britain and the leaders, and the members of the WWII were jailed for political sabotage during the war. The Americans weren't any more excited to have the Russians on their side. It's interesting, the Russians were on the American side during World War II.
Yeah.
The Americans weren't any more excited to have the Russians on their side than the Germans had been. In 1939, the New York Times wrote about the alliance between Germany and the Soviet Union. Germany having seized the prey, Soviet Russia was seized that part of the cuirass that Germany cannot use. It'll play the noble role of the hyena to the German lion. So Russia really did not like the Germans at the end of it all. And they were destroying Berlin. In spite of the mistrust of the Soviet Union, and the death rates of the Soviet soldiers were astronomical. Historian Timothy Bamford claimed that 80% of all men born in Soviet Union during the year 1923
15 minutes.
were killed by the end of World War II. So the losses were tremendous in Russia.
Yeah.
80% of the men that were born in 1923 were all killed during World War II.
Oh, yeah.
80%.
World War II?
Yeah. 80% of the Germans, young soldiers,
Yeah.
were killed during World War II. In 1935, a British engineer called Watson Watt was asked whether it was possible that the Germans were developing a death ray using radio waves. No such weapon was made, but in studying the possibility, Watt ended up creating a radar detector, one of the biggest technological advances of World War II. World War II began as World War II began, major media producers in the United States like Disney and Warner Brothers got on board creating propaganda films. Do you remember many of the propaganda films?
Oh, yeah.
Disney's Der Führerface is the most famous, but there are no fewer than 9 World War II films made starring Donald Duck. Now, you remember the propaganda film starring Donald Duck?
Yeah, they categorized the Donald Duck all the time, yeah.
So what would it be like? What would the films seem like?
Well, they were animated too.
They were making fun of Hitler? Was it?
Yeah, they were making fun of him and talking about him, just downgraded him.
And everyone in America was seeing on TV, "Whistle while you work."
Yeah.
Hitler is a jerk. The most hated man in the world. Over the course of World War II, the United States defense budget was increased 30-fold, from $1.9 billion to $59 billion between 1940 and 1945. Could you imagine $59 billion during 1940? The number would be so big today, it'd be way up in the trillions. We couldn't even,
Well, that was the war effort.
write it down. Yeah,
it was a war effort, yeah.
we couldn't even write it down. There'd be so many. Isn't that amazing? Have you heard much about the kamikaze pilots in your area?
No, that was in Japan.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, they didn't leave. Those fighters in Japan, they didn't leave. They kept going years after the war was
Oh,
over.
yeah. They're the fanatics. They were fanatics.
Hitler personally designed the Nazi flag, choosing the color red to represent the political idea of Nazism, and white to represent nationalism, and black to represent a German struggle. That's interesting. Many medical experiments were carried out on the prisoners in concentration camps. The Nazi regime was very interested in scientific discoveries, especially because that a lot of science up until that point had been done by the Jews and therefore was no good. The experiments were so gruesome and inhumane that the results from them are legally not allowed to be used today. One of the worst experiments they did was on twins. These so-called German physicians were obsessed with twins, and they would gather, they were most interested in twins, and they used 3,000 pairs of twins for their experiments.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Only 200 survived. One of their experiments, brutal people, one of their experiments involved sewing 2 twins together and see if they could create conjoined twins. Disgusting stuff. And here we go. The Nazis stole a lot of money and valuables from the victims of Holocaust.
A lot of art.
Yeah. They had put them in the bank accounts under false name. So the Germans were stealing it from the Jews and putting up their own bank accounts in false names. In the 1920s, Germany was usually liberal country when it came to sexuality. And Berlin was the gay culture capital of the world. When the Nazi regime cracked down on homosexuality as antisocial behavior, they didn't have any trouble rounding up plenty of victims.
Yeah, Christ.
Yeah. If you ever traveled in Germany, especially the Bavarian regions, you may have been stopped at Keller to eat. Keller literally means basement.
Yeah.
It's the origin of our word cellar. That's how we got our word cellars, from their word of Keller. But it also refers to a specific type of restaurant where beer, cheese, and cured meats are kept cooled in caves in the hillside. These caves ended up being useful to the Nazis for more than delicious refreshments. They used them as a natural bomb shelters and even created munitions factory in the old underground breweries. So before the war, there was these caves that you would store meats and foods in, and brewery.
They were storing it, yeah.
And so they're already made for the Nazis
Yeah.
to have as
They were looking ahead.
A real brutal man was an SS soldier called Heinrich Himmler. And before he became the right-hand man to Hitler, he was a chicken farmer.
He was what?
He was a chicken farmer.
Yeah. I gotta go piss, Dave. I gotta go
Jen,
piss.
Hang on.
help me here. Press the button.
Wait a minute.
Oh, wait a minute. I knew you should have put that there.
Stand by, please.
I'm gonna put on this.